is simply, again, how old we get, okay, before we die. But my goal is to have you explore, and even if it does this over a year, think about how much more you will realize in life if your self-image is just a little bit bigger. Just taking up more of your potential, realizing more of your potential. We were talking about self-image earlier, about how, like, all of us have struggled with self-image on some level at different points in life. Self-image is intimately tied to everything we've been talking about. As you visualize yourself in a successful way, as you start to take action in your life, as you start to have an influence on the people around you, you all have an influence, a more positive influence than the influence you want to have. As you begin to feel more relaxed day to day, all of those things help increase the self-image that you have of yourself. There's no quick way to change your self-image. It doesn't really exist. Okay? You can get ready, you can prepare to have a big shift by doing a lot of things for a period of time, and then something happens, like you get that big deal or whatever happens, but it's not just that big deal. It's all the preparation that's gone into it to prepare you for that. And then you see it and you go, okay, yeah, it's real in a different way for me. But one of the big things that I just want you to do is increase your self-image this year.
So I can physically feel an improvement in my self-image when I consistently read my goal card out loud, and when I am writing, and when I'm visualizing. But I don't remain consistent at it.
Yep.
So I slip back.
Yep.
So what do I do?
Hang out with me and hang out with these people. So like honestly, so the question is, how do we stay consistent with this then?
It's a struggle.
And the honest answer is we have to retrain our brain. We have to remind ourselves and fail lots of times. And so I struggle with this too. Okay? This is why I tell you guys I'm going to do this. Okay? So tomorrow morning, I want you to ask me if there's a third page in this journal. Okay? Keep asking me. But even saying that helps me.
We're talking back and forth.
I was not near me. Sorry.
You ate the whole year, so you started
Sorry. Sorry, having said that, I just want to clarify, like, even though I slip and I fall off the wagon, whatever the case, I never go back to where I was.
Yeah, so what you're talking about is this, right?
Yeah.
Your goal card, you visualize, and what was the third one?
So, writing it out, visualizing, and yeah.
So I'm going to give you two other ways to help. Two very common ways that help a lot of people. One is to play a game with yourself. It's called the Seinfeld calendar. I call it the Seinfeld calendar. I don't know if it's actually called the Seinfeld calendar. And the other way is to find an accountability partner. So right now, I've got a small group of clients that I've taken through my program, and there are, four of us?
Oh, well, yeah, 4 of us.
4 of us. And what we do is every morning, I have an app on my phone called WhatsApp. And it's just basically a way to text without using cell stuff. So I can be in any country and I can call or text people, and it doesn't cost me anything, okay? But what I use it for is it's great for just separating me from texting. Texting is this thing where I'm getting so many texts all the time. So what I do is I focus on, I don't tell anyone that I have WhatsApp except for my clients. So when I get a text in WhatsApp, I know that I'm going to respond to it earlier. I'm going to hit it first. So what we do is we say we're going to read an article. Every day we're going to read the same article for 30 days, and I've just been experimenting with this every day for 30 days, and then as soon as you've read the article in the day, you send a quick text in WhatsApp and say, just finished, this is the one thing that I really picked up today. So it's usually like a 1-sentence answer, right?
Could be 5 pages.
It could be, but typically, like very,
But yeah,
very
it's usually
infrequently.
few
Yeah,
sentences.
usually at the most, it's like 3 sentences, okay? It's not very long usually. So that's one way, is to find accountability with like-minded
Can we
people.
not, are we not doing that with the group, with the Facebook page?
We're doing it in a couple of different ways. So, in this group, so another way I keep accountable is Ken. I mean, so much of the time, often those Monday calls, for a long time, all they were, hey, what do you want to accomplish this week? 3 things. Next week we're going to ask each other, did you do those 3 things? That was it. For like 2 years, that was mostly what we did. We connected every time too. So there are 2 ways that I want to keep accountability going in this group. One is through our Facebook page. So we're going to have this secret Facebook group where we just connect and we can keep each other accountable. We can celebrate each other's successes. So it's going to be more than accountability in that Facebook group. It's going to be celebrating successes, connecting, encouraging each other, asking questions. It's going to be a great place to ask questions of going, hey, so I read this book, or I listened to this audio, or we're doing this together, and I came across this. What do you guys think of this? 4 or 5 other people get in there, and then we go, oh, yeah, that makes so much sense. It's going to be a great community. The second thing that we're going to do is we're going to get you set up with an accountability partner in this group. Okay? So you're going to be set up with one other person here and connect in a unique way. Now, there will be one group of like 1 or 3. So I'm still trying to figure out what the best way to do that is. My guess is that maybe I will do it with that one other person, okay? But we'll figure out something that works for everyone, where it's just one person with another person, and you keep each other accountable. So like using WhatsApp or whatever, you can just connect every morning. And it can be, you can take it where you want to go. I'll give you lots of ideas, you take it where you want to go. So one way is accountability, group or partner. The second way is that Seinfeld calendar, okay? So this is what I mean by the Seinfeld calendar. I do this all the time. I do it in different ways. But so I have on my Apple Watch, this is one of the main reasons I bought the Apple Watch, okay? You may find this disgusting, I don't know.
I thought it was because you were an Apple follower.
I am an Apple follower. That's true too. But I have this app. I don't know if you can see it there. It's like 3 colored circles. Okay? And what this measures every day, so the blue circle, the internal circle, it's up to 12. And every hour, it reminds me to make sure I stand and move around a little bit. Every hour. Okay? And so if I hit 12, it'll complete the circle. And then if I do more, it just keeps adding to it, okay? The second circle, the green circle, is exercise. So it's 30 minutes of exercise is the metric. And so again, if I do 30 minutes of active movement, and there are different ways I can do that. If I run, it checks my heart rate, like a Fitbit. Or if I can also set it and say, I'm exercising now, and do it, and then it just keeps the time. So I hit 30 minutes, it fills that circle. And then the other one is how many active calories I'm burning in a day. So this
You
is
have to input into that though, don't you? Or is it do it on the
everything.
Your body mass presumably, do you?
No, everything does it on its own. And the active calories one, I can set it to my own desire. So I can set it for 5, or I probably can't do 5, but like 25 or 50 active calories a day, or 500 or 1,000. I can set it to wherever I want. And then on my phone, so I'm going to make this simpler for you, okay? I'm just giving you an understanding of this. So then on my phone, I've got this app that looks the same right here.
Which app is it?
It's from Apple Watch, so it comes with the watch. So I click on that, and what it does is it shows me, I can go back and I can see how many times I've done all the circles. Okay? So what I do is I'm always trying to hit a new record with how many days in a row I do my circles. Okay? So this is what the Seinfeld calendar is. You have a calendar, and I do this on a physical calendar as well sometimes. They're not 8 days in a week, but you get it. Okay, so what you do is just you have 1 and 31 or whatever, and every day you say how many. If I reach this one goal, or if I reach these 3 goals, I'm just going to put a little mark on this calendar. So I've done different systems. The one system is every time you finish what you wanted to do, you just check it off like that. So I buy like just any cheap calendar, I just throw it on the wall and I just put X's on it, okay? You can print something out from your computer and I just put X's on it, okay? The other way that I've experimented with it, so I just set records. So maybe I get 2 days as my record. Next time, so say I miss a few days, the next time I'm gonna try to get 3 days, that's all. And I don't start off thinking 3 days, I start thinking just do 1. Because there's a psychological effect that once you do it once, twice, and 3 times, you go, oh no, I better get up and do it today. Because I'll break my record, or I'll like wreck the streak I've got going. There's a psychological fact to this. The other way that I've experimented with it is I will have maybe 3 or 4 different goals in different areas of my life on a daily basis. Okay? So maybe I have exercise, and exercise is always the top corner. And reading an article every day is another top corner. And being accountable with my accountability partner maybe is one, and reviewing my goals every day is another one, okay? You can choose whatever you want. And then every time I do all 4, so if I've only got 3 on this day, I don't do anything else. But if I've got all 4, then I'm able to do the big X. So it's like a reward. This is the craziest simple reward that you can set. And yet it works.
5,000 points.
5,000 points.
Yeah, nobody got 10,000 points yesterday, by the way.
Everybody got
What?
10,000.
So if you look at the app that I've got here, it sets, so it's metric. I didn't set this up. It looks from Monday to Sunday is a week for that. And if I do Monday to Sunday, I get a reward. 10,000 points. Seriously. It goes, you earned the achievement award or something like that, okay? Also, if I, from day 1 to day 31 in any given month, I do it every single day, hit all my exercise goals, it gives me a different reward. Ooh, it's like 20 million points, okay? Listen guys, this helps me. It helps me. So you can play this with your accountability partner and set it up and you set up your own systems and go, what's going to help you, what's going to help me, let's work together on it. Does that help throwing out any ideas with that kind of stuff?
I think you can put mindfulness on that too.
Yes, so there's a mindfulness app, there are some other things that you can put on. Yeah. Any questions or concerns, thoughts about that? You guys are gonna like Bob.
Bob the Builder?
Huh?
Bob the Builder?
Nope.
I thought it was Bob Proctor that was.
Nope, Bob only Bob.
That would be.
So Bob Proctor's a great guy. I think I like this guy more.
Oh.
He's different. I mean, he's not in your face and up there and teaching. He's well, and he's fantastic. I love him. I love him. Yeah, get up, breathe, do whatever you need to do, and we'll get Bob here. Lists. Come on in.
Watching you.
That's normal for me to get weirdly excited.
You're playing X's and O's, are you?
Yeah, I will.
It's an 8-day calendar. No, it's an 8-day calendar.
Very nice.
I'm trying to change the world in unique ways, Bob.
Well, let's go.
8-day calendars.
And you're the man to do it.
If we're
Is that Einstein time or is it?
Yeah, it's so great.
For me?
Which one was that in? Is that in?
Big league, big deal, okay, yeah.
Anyways, come on in, Bob, and we'll introduce everybody. We'll put you front and center up here.
Oh, cool. We'll get that off. Very
Yeah.
Bring it.
chair in there for you to sit down on.
All right.
I'm gonna put it down there.
How are you doing? Very good. Yeah, good to see you again.
Yeah, we'll start as soon as.
That's what you guys do here.
Yeah.
Play cash flow, eh?
We play cash flow, yeah. Got the same shirt.
Do ya? Yeah, sure.
We should have enough chairs, I think. I think we should have enough. Oh,
Do now.
Only if we send
we
Canada.
definitely have enough.
Speaking of cash flow,
What, did you want to?
yeah.
Oh. We never even talked about playing cash flow.
So I was
I
thinking
thought for
about
sure
it
that
last,
was gonna be on the agenda.
I was thinking about it last night and was gonna ask you and simply it slipped my mind. But I would love to do that with these guys. What do you think?
Alright.
Let's do it. Like I said, this could have gone a lot of different ways, okay?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Is
Have we put this many people in one cash flow?
No, I've got 4 or 5 games, so I've played with as many as 30 people, so
No.
yeah, I've taken it into the schools before. Why I've got so many. So anyhow, this is my good friend Bob Volks. Bob and Louise and Joanne and I have been doing our book club since
It's coming up 3 years,
This
anyway.
August, I think it is when we got started. And so I'll just quickly go around the room. Bob, of course, you know, Mark and Joseph,
Yep.
who's from Nanaimo, and then we got Brad from Saskatoon. Saskatoon?
Saskatoon.
Saskatoon, okay, go.
It's like an Edmonton, Calgary.
Oh, okay. We got Sam from Calgary, Andrew from Calgary,
Here.
Eric? Suburb. Canada. Rick from Lethbridge, and Charlotte from
Okotoks.
Okotoks now,
Just
and Daryl is hiding around here someplace. Yeah. so-
Cool. Where's Okotoks?
South of Calgary,
Ah,
just like Airdrie's.
sounds like off of Jerry Seinfeld, the Del Boca Vista.
Anyhow,
One more coming?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So we, I just wanted to share the experience that we have had and the power of the book club over the past 3 years. And the first book we started off was the 13 Revolutions, something like that. What was that called?
Yes.
13 Revolutions. Resolutions.
Yeah.
And then we went into Think and Grow Rich, which took us down because we were going down to Phoenix too. So we all went down to Phoenix to Bob Proctor, and that was the book study of Think and Grow Rich, which was phenomenal. And that was where we really took off with the power of the book study group, our understanding it, I think. And I can't remember what we read after that, I don't know. What has been the most powerful book that we have read so far? Maybe the top 2 or 3, or most influential book to you?
I'd have to go with The Big Leap. I think the others certainly had some influence, you know, there were some close first seconds there for sure. But The Big Leap, I think, for me anyway, allowed me to, and gave me permission to, expose myself. And I think that was one of the bigger keys of the entire theme that we've been on in the last couple of years, 3 years, is that the more you get comfortable, the more you feel exposed, the more you want to be exposed, and to really find out about yourself. And The Big Leap certainly did that for me anyway.
And you've read it, like you'd read it prior to us reading it.
Yeah.
And we read it together, and you're now going through it a 3rd time with
So that I'm in my fifth
5th.
time now. And 4 of the 5th time, 5 times, is with other people. And after we had done The Big Leap, I decided that I was going to run it through all of our staff and talk to them about it. And it had the Bob Proctor event had some things included in that in terms of, you know, examining yourself, seeing where your limitations are, and feeling safe to understand that you can change those and things. But the whole thing with The Big Leap for me was that if I expand my staff's capabilities and understandings and there are any limitations and things that they may have, whether it be at home or at our place of business, that it's only going to help us as a group. The ironic part of having gone through that again, and in particular, I just did it with a gal that's my assistant. I probably got more out of it than she did, because it was again, and it was again, and then the unique part of even our group is that we all see and reflect on certain circumstances a little differently. So Ken may see something in me, or I may see something in Ken, or he may see something in an excerpt out of the book that maybe we're not looking at it in the right fashion, or the same fashion, or what the message is. Mm-hmm. I just spent 4 days on a tourism conference, and it was a tourism conference, thank you. It was an experiential type thing, so it was about experienced providers. And this place comes together in it because, and we discovered this in the last couple of weeks actually, it's the message, not the example. So I know that, what are you saying there, Bob? But so with The Big Leap and with Gay Hendricks, particularly in the Conscious Living, the book that we're doing now, he's always referring to certain circumstances and certain things and people and things that happened in his life. And those things aren't what we need to pay attention to. We need to pay attention to what the message is that he's doing. So for instance, this guy that I had the most connection to in the last 4 days that I spent in Algonquin Park was a professional magician, but he had his PhD in psychology. And he's been a professional magician since he was 13. So the things that he did were all examples, but it was the message that was the key to it. And that's what we get out of this group, is the message.
So you one of the things that Mark wanted to do today, which we weren't able to do, or we didn't do it for whatever reason, we'll say it's raining, whatever, was mindfulness in nature.
Right.
Who is it that you've referred to several times about the mindfulness in nature? Because I mean, Bob is a nature guy, and that's where you connect and get grounded and whatnot. There's two people. If you don't like sharing the story, this has nothing to do with the book club, by the way, but it's a great story. The podcast you just did.
Yeah.
And then the other one is he a native?
Yeah, Tom Brown Jr.
Tom Brown Jr. Yeah.
I'll start with him. Originally, I've read some of his books years ago, but over the last few winters, we've started doing tracking workshops in the store in the evening. So we basically sort of dissect various types of tracks from various types of animals. But then one of the gentlemen that was there, I'll make this long story very short, was actually a first responder and spent a lot of his time in human rescue. So people got out in the woods or wherever and couldn't find their way out. Well, this Tom Brown Jr. is a native, and he was raised as the chosen one. So as you read his book, there's a whole element in there that the elders saw something in him and realized that there was something there, and then he became on his journey. So there's a whole host of things that were involved in that. But the unique part about it is that his connection to nature and to track humans that are lost are all intuitive as opposed to mechanical. So he wants to know the sex, he wants to know the age, he wants to know outdoor abilities and all those types of things. And then he studies human nature in the sense of that we're all right side dominant for the most part. So he predicts the terrain, he predicts the person, and he walks to where they'll come out. He doesn't track. So there's a whole story behind all of that. And it comes into play with your intuitiveness, whether it be in business or whether you're in nature or whether you're not. So we talk about it a lot in our store and in our business in terms of the creation of what people can do outside. And then you connect in that sense as well. So it's very interesting. Tom Brown Jr. is his name. He's out of the US. Has probably a dozen different books, some more tactical and technical on the tracking, some more intuitive and spiritual in nature with connection to nature.
Yeah, the thing that, I think that all came up through reading Think and Grow Rich, actually.
Right.
And just the universe and how we're connected with the universe and so forth, so.
Well, even Bob Proctor's, the vibrational tones and things of the, that everything vibrates, and his way of expressing it is the same message, but a different example, and that's what I mean about pay attention to the message, not the example. And Tom Brown Jr.'s message is kind of the same, but a different example. So when you're, and you can't say it to everybody, but if you actually really connect in nature and understand then too that we are nature, it's not us in nature.
Mm-hmm.
We're nature.
Yeah.
We're the same part of nature as much as a frog or a squirrel or anything. A tree doesn't matter. We're part of that. We're the only, and as Bob Proctor says, we're the only ones that got the insight to be able to screw it up. Everybody else just follows their genetic, intuitive path.
Mm-hmm.
Like a deer, for instance, can get chased by a pack of wolves for 2 hours. 10 seconds after they're done chasing him, he's standing leaning over eating grass and doesn't even think anything about it. Where we spend the rest of our life fearing about it.
Just talk about it. They-
So that's the intuitive nature of nature and the example, or the message in the example. So we're starting a podcast, oddly enough, talking about nature. It's the name of the podcast is Living in Essence with Nature. And
Is it already started, Bob?
it hasn't gone live yet. We
So I
have
won't find it.
no, you can find it yet. It's I'm hoping for mid-June.
Okay.
I have 3 recordings in the book, and I'm trying to get to about 8 before we launch, and then we can just throw stuff out. Anyway, the first gentleman that I ended up approaching, I belong to a land trust, or we contribute to a land trust. I guess we're members of the land trust, and the land trust manages 2,500 acres and growing. And its whole methodology is to conserve the natural state of particular pieces of land. So there's people that are willing their land to the land trust, there's people that are donating their land to the land trust and using it as an easement so that I can still live in my 250 acre parcel of land, but it's managed and operated by the land trust. So they expect in the next 5 years that they'll have about 5,000 acres of land that they're going to be managing. Some of it was of sensitive flora and fauna that isn't found in a lot of places, so there's a whole purpose to that. Anyway, the gentleman that is the president of the land trust is 82 years old. In 1980, I think it was, he purchased 1,250 acres of land out in Lanark County in an area of Joe's Lake Flower Station. And he lived there, he still lives there with his family. But he decided a few years ago that there was pressure on a lot of the local lands for development. And he decided that he was going to try to figure out a way to allow the land to still be used, but not be developed. And they made this land trust startup. So I had an opportunity to speak with him, and I know him quite well, and interview him on the podcast. And as I was just saying again in my closing remarks at the tourism conference that I was at, Algonquin Park Off the Grid thing, is that we all have expectations when we go somewhere to do things and see things. Sometimes we don't get what we expect, and sometimes we certainly don't get what we expect in a positive way, and that's exactly what happened. Well, when I interviewed this guy, I did not expect to get what I got from him. And it was a message of, so the one that was, there was several different things, but the one that was kind of the biggest thing, there was an elderly lady that lived up in Lanark County that had never ever had hydro. Not because she chose to do that, she just grew up with no hydro, and they carried on having no hydro. She was very elderly at the time. And she was quite sick and knew that her demise was very close. And she contacted Howard and wanted to go to the top of Blueberry Mountain. And Blueberry Mountain is a fairly significant trek. It takes probably a good half hour to kind of trudge uphill, and it's rocks and roots and all kinds of different things. And this woman had a walker and an oxygen tank, and he's 82. And she wants to go up to the top of Blueberry Mountain, and he's saying, like, I don't want to take on this responsibility to take this lady up to the top of the hill. Anyway, it was under deliberation, they ended up doing it. It took them 2 hours to get her to the top. And it was unique in the way he was telling the story, and we'd had some sort of conversation that had built up to that. But when he got her to the top, it's a very big piece of Canadian Shield, looks way out across the landscape with nothing but trees and hills and rocks. And she got there and she moved the walker ahead and she fell right to her knees. And he thought, oh, she's gonna expire right here. So that in itself kind of, fired him up a little bit. But what she was doing is she was putting her hands in the moss and looking at all the little leaves and flowers and stuff that grow on the peat moss and stuff or the moss, not peat moss, that's the grasses and things, and she was touching it and feeling it, so she was getting that tactile experience about her land, and so making the connection to it. And then she started telling stories about when she was a little girl, about so-and-so had a homestead over there, and so-and-so had a homestead over there. I used to play with the kids in that place, and she went on to talk about a whole bunch of different things. And then she turned to Howard and said, this is always going to be here, isn't it, Howard? And he said, right there, that cemented the land trust into him. And then they said, I just stood there and bawled.
What was the connection?
Mindfulness.
Yeah, it's a mindful connection with emotion, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And so I had a moment before I could continue with the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it was just that whole connection with nature that I wanted to share with people, and how that. So getting back to the book club now.
Yes.
So we're coming up to 3 years. Has it been of value?
I don't think you can, really. It's in a bunch of different ways. And I say this because superficially you can come into a group and do whatever you want to do and sit around and chat and talk and do all what we're doing right here. But if it starts hitting you in the guts and you really are underpinning your belief systems,
Mm-hmm.
and realizing that, and that's why this nature connection is there, because we think of, Bob Proctor and all these things kind of talk about different things, but you're not your thoughts. We all think our thoughts are us. Well, we're not. It's not. We all know that. It's not. Our thoughts aren't that. But our thoughts are consciousness, and consciousness is nature, and nature is consciousness, and the universe is consciousness, and we are consciousness. So if you really go deep enough with that, you realize that you create what you're conscious about. So I say that because that's what this book club's done, really. On very deep levels. And sometimes maybe we don't go deep enough. Sometimes we put the walls up and we don't allow ourselves to be exposed as much as we should. But when you go back, so my habit has been that we'll have read a chapter almost every day for a week. We come here and talk about it for 3 hours, and I go home before I go to bed, I start reading the next chapter. Because it's just that powerful.
And we've been doing this for almost 3 years, every Tuesday night. How many Tuesdays have we missed?
Not very many.
Maybe
Very
5
few.
or something like that.
I don't even know what's that, but whatever, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Is there any questions or thoughts or from anybody?
Any birders in the room?
Oh, yeah. Here's our networker.
Just wondering. No birders? Really? No?
So Bob, I think this would be almost 6 years ago now, isn't it?
Yep.
When you started.
Yep.
Bob sort of goes against the grain a little bit.
He's another weirdo like us.
Oh yeah, very much.
In a
So
good
that's why
way,
we connect. But they decided, what decided, you just decided to open up a birding store?
Yeah, so I've always had that. I've always been involved in that. My mom was always involved in that. On the family home farm that we always had. Mom always had stuff in the gardens and always were involved in nature. And one of the talks that I talk about in the terms of connection to nature, for instance, all the families, my mom's families there was like 5 different family dairy farms that were associated with me. And if you went to cut hay, you went to check to see that if the bobolinks and the meadowlarks and all those kinds of things had finished nesting before you started to cut hay. So that sets value, right? That tells you that, well, whereas the factory farm of today, their big connection to doing hay is how many acres per hour they can cut. There's nothing to do with. So we've lost touch with that. All the seed is there isn't any native seed anymore. Most of it's herbicide resistant. The other stuff has got pesticides built into it. So I've always had that connection, and I've always thought the only way you can make a contribution and to make a difference is to start by doing that. And that's, some of it was consciously done, but other stuff has just kind of come out of the woodwork, and that I now know my message, and I now know what it is what I need to do for the rest of my life. And I now know that living in essence with nature is the message that I have to get out. And my way of doing it is in the examples with the store and the products and how the products are different and why you should do this as compared to anything else.
So you've watched Simon Sinek, I'm sure. If you know
Yeah,
this
for
guy.
sure. Read his books, yeah.
That why, how, what is exactly what you just described.
Exactly,
Right?
yeah.
This is your why,
Yeah.
and it's looking like this to other people,
Mhm.
but that's really your why. That's
Yeah.
what you just talked about.
Yeah.
And you said it took a while to get.
Mm.